The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, residents in parts of the country were stunned to see what appeared to be a meteor shower in the sky last night. Turns out it was the latest failed attempt by Elon Musk's SpaceX program. This as the government launches a SpaceX debris hotline. You all saw that? Yeah. It was debris falling, yeah, but soaring wherever it was. We talk about it tonight. Also tonight, it's Week in Review Fridays. We look at some of the biggest stories this week, including the egg saga that was finally addressed right here on this show last evening. And later on, Leslie, you didn't hear where the eggs came from?
I got mine. I don't know where the hell is coming.
I will tell you where the eggs came from. You sit tight right there. And later on in tonight's show, a look at the fly fishing industry. Who are the key players and are Bahamians at the forefront of what is a very lucrative multi-million dollar, perhaps billion-dollar industry? We also talk about that tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, the FAA is requiring SpaceX to perform a mishap investigation into the loss of the Starship vehicle during its most recent launch last evening. The explosion left a trail across the evening skies, seen in the United States and here in the Bahamas, especially the Northwest Bahamas. The flying debris got a response from Prime Minister Davis, who issued a response late last night. And then, of course, the government launched a hotline, which I'll tell you about after this. Here's Linton Ritchie, and then we'll come back and talk.
Environmental teams have been deployed to assess the flaming debris that a SpaceX rocket left behind after it exploded in Bahamian waters yesterday evening. Government is clarifying tonight that the failed rocket was not a part of government's recent agreement to allow rocket landings. This as there have been growing concerns from the electorate over government's decision to explore space tourism.
There are a team of Bahamian officials who are currently doing a flyover, or should be doing a flyover by now, with officials from the SpaceX. I think what the statement alluded to, that the officials from the government of the Bahamas will be observing, overseeing that process.
The Mammoth Starship rocket launched out of Texas, but lost contact around 10 minutes later, sending the spacecraft into an out-of-control spin. Here's what governments say they know so far.
Debris was subsequently observed streaming over the Bahamas. It's important to note that the Bahamas have no regulatory authority under the Bahamas Civil Aviation Space Flight Reentry Regulations 2025.
As for communication with SpaceX personnel,
the Bahamas remains engaged with SpaceX and will continue to monitor the situation and ensure the proper recovery actions are carried out.
Now, with the Bahamas being known on a global scale for its sun, sand, and sea, Eyewitness News put forth the question to Office of the Prime Minister of exactly the message they're sending to Bahamians who say in instances like yesterday evening when that rocket ship exploded over our waters, how can that be of danger to our prized possession?
We have to be cognizant in the world we live in. That there will be aircrafts that fly over our jurisdiction, whether it's a spacecraft, whether there is a normal airline. What we are concerned about is that when there is an incident, do we have the mechanism in place to respond very quickly to mitigate those concerns, whether it's environmental, economic.
But exactly how long will Operation Cleanup and its findings take?
I don't have a confirmed time on how long that will be. What we are committed to is coming back to the public with as frequent amount of updates during this process as we possibly can.
Government revealed that they are aware of the speculations and concerns regarding the continuity of SpaceX rocket landings. So, here's the promise they made to the public.
Transparency is non-negotiable, especially if you're going to have missions that may impact the Bahamas and neighboring countries.
Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Well, there you saw, right? I mean, it was really something because I got those videos like that last evening. And quite frankly, for a moment, I thought it was a meteor shower as well, but wasn't sure. Wasn't going to make any like definitive statements. Obviously, I have to wait for official confirmation. And then we saw the Prime Minister's office say that the Prime Minister will make a statement about it. And it turned out to be the SpaceX program, Elon Musk's space program with another failed launch. By the way, before we get into the discussion, I just want to give you this information that came out late this afternoon. It's an important update. SpaceX debris hotline. So if you see any debris, I would like to see how that looks. First of all, don't touch it. We don't know. That's a different level of fuel and all that. Who's the astronaut?
From the Ministry of Tourism, the lady.
The Ministry of Tourism has an astronaut?
She was an astronaut, now she's going to be tourism.
Oh, it's an astronaut? Truly?
Yeah. Bo.
Supposed to be.
Her name is, she's a Bo.
But she's going to tourism now, so we need to hear from
But
her.
why you say it like it's a joke, Leslie?
It's not a joke.
Oh, okay.
She's
then.
there.
Okay. Well, speak out, miss. She should be the first.
I would think
out
so.
front.
She should be the point
Yeah.
person.
Let me just give everybody you all. This is the debris hotline. If you find debris, please report its location. Remember, don't go touch it. Don't figure you're going to hoard it and carry it home. Don't do that. You don't know what fuels and whatever could be
Chemicals.
in there. And chemicals, it's not the usual regular. You pull up and tell the people fill up. So if you find debris, please report its location. So that sounds to you like don't touch, right? Its location, the time of discovery, and photos or little videos, but photos they're asking, and send it via email to information@depp.gov.bs. Again, if you find anything, there it is in the sky right there. Thank you, Justin. If you see anything going on, and that was far out, but that was seen. Those images were seen throughout the United States, the Bahamas, as we know. Really awesome, really something to behold. Again, take a picture or pictures, email them to information@depp.gov.bs or recovery@spacex.com. Again, recovery@spacex.com, or call the SpaceX debris hotline at 1-866-623-0234. Again, the SpaceX debris hotline, 1-866-623-0234. So obviously it's nothing to tamper with and play with. Again, this is not your regular fuel, and you could play around with and want to.
It's harmless. They just said that 2 weeks ago.
Well, I don't know. Harmless where? I don't know harmless. Leslie, if that's the official statement from the government.
I'm saying that when it was launched from the Bahamas a few weeks ago.
Or you saying
Was it launched from the Bahamas?
No.
It landed on a platform.
It landed here. But
Yes.
the fact that it disintegrated, basically, that you don't know what you could be picking up.
Right.
So don't chance it. If you see it, and it may be in the ocean, and that's another thing. But the ocean of easy fish. But what I'm saying is this: do not go and pick it up and try to go and floss on TikTok and be like, hey, look at me, I have a piece of the spaceship. No, don't do that. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines and Week in Review Fridays. Leslie Miller, Ellington Ferguson. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. It's wonderful seeing you both.
Good evening to you. Good evening, Bahamas.
Good evening, Shanique. Certainly, it's a pleasure. Thank you for this privilege.
Yes, absolutely. Your thoughts, gentlemen. My first thing, I don't know. I'm not a space. I'm not the astronaut. I don't have information and insight, knowledge, and all that stuff and insight. All I know though, like this stuff, like how much we can do in the sky, in the one sky where the aircraft flying at the same time. I that's just my question. But your thoughts on how that played out, again, not just only in the Bahamas, the United States, and certainly the Northwest Bahamas.
Well, Shanique, this is very interesting. We all don't know of all of the safety. We know that when these things are being launched, number one, the air is cleared around them. But when they start to malfunction and end up exploding and moving through the skies, That's another whole issue. How do we control that as it relates to airlines coming from various different areas? Because you can see how far that traveled from Texas and it was all the way over this region. So
and
that
the
is to
speed
be
in
seen.
which it's traveling.
And the speed at which it's traveling. So hopefully we can get some clarity on that from the, I think they asked Elon Musk and those to give them some clarity on what going forward, how these things are going to be handled or what's going on with them. I think the FAA and the rest of them, we need to know exactly what potential risk things like this pose to traveling airlines, that are passenger airlines or private planes that are traveling through the airspace. We need to get that clear. But this is one of the things of life. We all welcome these space exploration. Let me tell you, these space exploration, a lot of them contribute to the luxuries and the way we live today, believe it or not. The many things that you can do with your cell phones and all of those communications, and it's become a part of life. Some of you don't even realize that it's because certain satellites and things up there in space that you're living the type of luxuries that you're living. You talk about your vehicles where you got this OnStar and some vehicle where you could speak and it give you the command. You give the car command or the vehicle command, and it performs the command. All of that is from these satellites and things that they've put in space.
I don't know though, Leslie, and Ellington, you are absolutely right. And of course, as we discussed before tonight's show, just minutes before we came on air, we talked about the fact that, listen, when it was time to create light, who did it by again? I forgot. In any event.
Talking about the airplanes?
No, light. I'm just going with different
Right. The right
creations or whatever. So whether it's airplanes, whether it's light, whether any
Absolutely.
great thing took many trial and errors.
Absolutely.
Any great, wonderful discovery had to go through trial and error. We know that. But I don't know if we need to have tourists going to Mars. Leslie, your thoughts?
I'd like to send a few of them.
Oh, Lord.
Right from here.
Call. Listen. I whistle, you point.
No, listen, there's really nothing we can do about these spaceships that's going to different planets. Elon Musk and others, in fact, don't forget, one just landed on the moon this week, on Monday. Not his, someone else. So the private sector there is doing a hell of a job with who's going to get to Mars first. They're on the moon now. And that was the first time in a long time that someone's gone to the moon safely.
Right.
No passengers on board, but exploration is man's ingenuity to believe that he's next to God, eh? I mean, God did put us in his
image and in his likeness.
He put all those desires in us.
We want to get as close to him as we can, and I guess going to the moon and going to Mars, we'll get a little closer. I don't know how far we are between here and heaven. Probably a hell of a distance, but only God would determine that, and he would be the one to determine how far we go and to go. So I just sit back and watch it and just in awe of what the imagination, if you can think about it, man can create it.
Yeah.
If you got the money and the wherewithal to do it. So I say more power to them. Well, just make sure that they're not in our waters and, Bahamians don't get into our tourism sector. Of course, we have you're looking for space tourism now in the Bahamas, so let's see how that works out.
Yeah, we certainly, of course, it's something that got everyone's attention, and of course, imaginations for several hours ran wild. And then, of course, that statement by the Prime Minister was released to give a definitive explanation of what it was. And then, of course, you heard me just gave you the hotline. And so, again, use it. Don't go pick it up. If you see anything on land somewhere, don't pick it up, don't touch it, none of the above.
And to be clear, Shanique, for many Bahamians, it is not something that was initiated here in the Bahamas or had anything to do with us. We had nothing to do with that. That's not a part of the program where we had the landing in Exuma 2 weeks ago. That's absolutely nothing to do with that. So was something that was launched in Texas, and it just happened. We just happened to see the explosion going over the Bahamas. Hopefully, it didn't land anywhere in the Bahamas.
Yeah, absolutely, gentlemen. I want to move along. This week we had such troubling news when it came to safety on our streets and traffic fatalities. One just last night on the island of Abaco, where there was a collision with a woman and a woman in a car and a gentleman in a one of those big trucks, F-150s.
Oh, God.
She unfortunately didn't survive. We don't have to spend much time on this gentleman, but if only to stress to all of us, one, people are driving so distracted now.
Yeah.
The phone is,
the
is
kid
now
was-
the new
yeah,
accessory. So you're driving and you're doing this,
Yeah,
and who was not guilty of that from time to time? But then the level of speed is also an
Absolutely.
issue. And so, and I was going to say a minute ago on the Family Islands, we know Abaco and Eleuthera,
Long roads,
but the people here in Nassau with the roads this long are also speeding.
Right.
So if you all can, I'll give you each an opportunity just to quickly speak to it before we move on.
It's, again, we can't say it enough for people to pay attention when you get on these streets. Here in New Providence, like you alluded to, and on the Family Islands. The Family Islands, they have these long stretch of road. Most Family Islands, most inhabited Family Islands are much larger than New Providence. So they have these long miles and miles of just straight road with no side corners or no red light and all that type of stuff. And so people tend to take advantage of those long stretch and do whatever they can do. And then in addition to that, still on the phones and doing other stuff. And we want you to be careful, man. Please, one life lost is too much. We've been losing too many lives on the streets of our country, in New Providence and in the Family Islands. Drivers in New Providence, let's try to be more careful. Let's watch out. You driving on the street, you got to look out for yourself and the other motorists that are traversing our streets. We've had too much lives lost in our vehicle wrecks on this island and in the country on the whole.
This has been a very tragic week for us. 4 persons, 3 females and 1 male. Last week, Saturday, was the lady who came from Grand Bahama.
We went
Obviously,
Prince
she
Charles.
got lost in the Eastern District because she was heading down to Yellow Elder and ended up tragically out east. I went and looked at that debris that was left. Very tragic. And then the other lady in the area in the south, I think she,
Pinewood Gardens.
yeah, she went through the window or the windshield. The other person where the light pole was in the middle of the car.
Yeah.
And now there's one on the
Abaco.
farm. We got to do better. And these persons who drive this, they call them little mini cars. They really be that it's a game. I was in Scotia today down here on Thompson Boulevard, and I was parked. I was talking to someone, and a lady pulled in her car, and another lady pulled in on the side of her and went right in front of her into the parking lot.
Well, they think it's a
So I
game,
asked-
truly,
I
like
said-
they
I
could
said- I said-
outsmart somebody else
So
and
I
take their
asked, I
spot.
said, Miss, why you have to drive? I said, that's how you always drive? Port cake. Don't get me mad today. And then she used profanity, but 6 times. I don't F around it. We did fat.
She called you fat?
No, she called, I call her fat. But I mean, they drive with,
Yes,
with
they
no
do.
conscience.
Yes, absolutely.
The lady was just about to, she zoom.
And only to be so careless and speaking to you that way, you're trying to give her good advice,
Yeah.
but let something that happen and you put your family
Yeah,
in trauma and
yes.
expense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Use your common sense,
Careful,
man.
man. I mean,
the bank right there, or wherever it is you
That's
think
the
you're
debt
rushing
that
off
God gave. I
to.
mean,
And what you've got to-
a family now is in mourning for those 4 persons.
You say
They got
exactly,
brothers and sisters.
exactly, you
They
know?
have children. They got mothers and fathers, man. They got friends. And now they're gone. Just because, please.
I agree.
The life you saved may be your own.
I agree.
Please.
I agree.
Please.
Gentlemen, I want to
Please.
talk about, this is a story that Linton did. You all saw just a little while ago in the newscast. But I want to talk about what is an issue. And again, just very quick responses before we take a break. But suicides, men and suicides, there's been several over the last several weeks. We're not even talking about attempted suicides. We're just
for the
talking
week.
about completed suicides. And and that's the week. And then, for the last few weeks now, women as well, but a lot of men. What do you suppose, what can you men say then? That's all I want to know. What can you men say to men out there who may be having an issue, whichever way?
I say to my brothers, life today in the Bahamas, in the world, can be very challenging. Especially as a man, especially if you're a man that try your best to live up to your responsibilities, and you find the weight and the pressure of family, of responsibility, of work get down on you sometime. And in most cases, while the women and children may have somebody to turn to, in a lot of cases, the man have nobody to turn to. Because in society, we expect it to be tough. We're not expected to talk to somebody and maybe have to shed a tear and express ourselves. You know, society frowns on that, unfortunately. But brothers, there is somebody that you can talk to. Find somebody that you can share. It's all right sometimes to sit and just, if you have to talk to somebody and cry, it's all right to cry. But to take your life is not the answer. It's not the answer. Please, find somebody, share. Somebody that just can say a kind word. It may not even change the situation, but just a word of encouragement. Somebody else is dealing with what you're dealing with. Somebody else have already overcome what you're dealing with. You could make this, man. You could do this. I know it's heavy. I know the pressure is strong on you, but you could do this. Someone already conquered it before. Find somebody to talk to. Taking your life is not the answer. It's additional pain for yourself, eternal pain for yourself, the family that you leave behind. Take a second thought.
We appreciate these are very stressful and difficult times. The man is always viewed as the head of the household. He's supposed to be the one to have all the answers. But many times we don't have the answers, to be honest with you. Sometimes the stress is beyond our control. And that's when you need a helping hand to reach out to a friend, reach out to a loved one. I mean, I met a guy today in Scotiabank, and I gave him a tip of $10. He said, man, you don't know what this made to me. So I went back and I gave him $20. And as I went to my car, I said, you know, I turned around again and I ended up giving him $50. And he said, you know, that's exactly what I need in my life right now. I mean, these are simple things
Simple
that, you know,
little
it bothered me that,
Yeah.
you know, the way he said it, he said, man, he said, listen, you know how much I appreciate this, you know, because you don't know what is going on in his life. We got to be kind to other people. And when they cry out of stop, go back and appreciate it and say, my brother, could I help you with something? Because it's basic things in life.
Yeah.
That's what I tell the politician. Nobody wants you to buy them a car, but just listen to my views, listen to my pain, and try to help me as best you can.
Show that you
Show
care.
kindness and love.
That's it.
Shanique,
That's it.
can I say this? I know you got to go to the
In
break.
10 seconds, yes.
Yes. Sometimes I'm not speaking to the persons who can attempting to commit suicide. Let me speak to the rest of us. Like Leslie was saying, that one thing that you could do for a person. Sometime last year, somebody came to me and was talking to me, somebody who you would never think. And when I spoke to them and I did what I did for them, they said, Fergie, you saved my life. They were contemplating suicide. He was literally contemplating suicide. And today, he almost would, I stop him from doing things for me. He'll do anything for me.
Wow.
And I didn't know. I just did it because I just want to help a brother.
And we know there was also another attempted suicide on
you
the
saved my
bridge.
life.
On the bridge this
Yes.
week.
So we got to lend a helping hand. Reach out. Say something nice. Do something for somebody.
And then practice kindness, man,
Yes,
for the rest
absolutely.
of 2025.
Show
How
some
about
love.
that? Let's
Absolutely.
just kindness. Your behavior's too
some
angry. What happened?
Yes.
What's going on? We will be back right after
And the
this.
women
This
got
is
to give us a
Beyond the Head.
break too. You know, you all.
Women got to give you. Listen, women, save yourself from stress. With these men.
For over half a century, we've been more than just an airline. We've been a bridge, connecting families, dreams, and memories across the islands and beyond. Behind every seat sold and every journey planned, there's a dedicated team committed to making air travel affordable and accessible to everyone. At Bahamas Air, we're not just building connections, we're building a safe and dependable airline where quality service is paramount and an excellent travel experience is our priority. Wherever you're going, we're here to take you there with care, with heart, and with the promise of unforgettable journeys. We are family, and just like family, we're committed to taking care of our own. Your Bahamas Air is our Bahamas Air, because here at Bahamas Air, we don't just fly here, we live here.
What? You don't know what TDC is? Tourism Development Corporation?
You mean the Ministry of Tourism?
No, that ain't the same thing, buddy. The Tourism Development Corporation helps develop and grow behemoth businesses in the tourism industry. You know what I say, boy?
Oh, yeah.
Develop and grow. You don't know what all the things saying do?
What does do?
Like, check the website, boy.
Start your journey to ownership of our #1 industry today. Log on to tdcbahamas.com.
Hello?
You guys had anything to eat as yet? Y'all know Christmas just gone and things are rough.
Alright, but y'all let me working all day, but what we gonna eat?
If we was by the mall, we could go by Wendy's and get the Dave special for $5.
Yeah, but you do know that the Dave's deal is now actually nationwide, right?
Wait, let's go Cable Beach right there.
Let's go.
All right.
Who are the boss for dancer?
International events and production. Alive, Bahamas Air, Everybody Wins Live, and Field of Vibes Bahamas Weekend presents
the Evolution Concert on Saturday, March 29th at Clifford Park, featuring Vibes Cartel and Friends.
Bahamas, Nassau, where you see Saturday the 29th of March.
It's one of the biggest events to hit the shores of Nassau, Bahamas.
Get ready for Adi the Teacher, the Dancehall King, aka the World Boss, Vibes Cartel.
Real bad man, no muggle in a shot.
Log into our official airline Bahamas Air for travel specials. It gets better. We're also giving away a brand new Cybertruck.
And up to $50,000 in cash and prizes at the concert. Compliments of Everybody Wins Live.
Log into our website, feelthevibesweekend.com.
For tickets, tables, skyboxes, and more info.
Visit Ticket Flair or email intlevents242@gmail.com.
WhatsApp or call 1242-808-2369.
A member cartel I go did it.
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
The other guy who was here. Listen, the show happens and doesn't stop in the break. It just keeps going. So now we're back. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It is Week in Review Fridays. Yeah, let's get it going. Speaking of Week in Review, as the government continues with its promise to give residents a sigh of relief through initiatives aimed at lowering the cost of living and food, the country's Trade Commission gives further insight on its plans to diversify its means of imports, which they believe will result in consumers spending less for quality goods. Last evening on this show, we saw Senator Barry Griffin and another gentleman, Howells, from a company where the government is kind of sort of making liaisons, and then they are helping major merchants here get product and make it a whole lot cheaper. Remember the egg debacle from all week? Well, here's exactly how that played out. People are saying, listen, if Dominican Republic got all this going on, why are we getting the eggs?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I'll take it from the standpoint, Kerry spoke about the very stringent standards that they have in the Dominican Republic, but I'll speak a little bit about the stringent standards that we have here in the Bahamas.
We're interested in knowing that because BAFSA, for some reason, is very silent. How strict are they?
Well, I mean, BAFSA isn't silent. BAFSA is a technical organization. So these are the scientists and the very highly technically trained people who protect us. So they are responsible for upholding our standards for any shipment of goods, whether they come from the United States, Canada, Panama, Ghana, Dominican Republic, everywhere. We want to be clear. The Bahamas has one set of standards for the importation of goods into our country, and it doesn't change regardless of whether you get it from the United States or the Dominican Republic. So
the question then, Senator, but I really have to inject right here. BASFA is active and doing its job every day.
BASFA is active and doing its job every day. The Bahamas is one of the countries in the world that has the lowest incidence of reported food contamination in the country. So BASFA has always been doing its job. And in particular, you want to talk about the eggs. These eggs, again, were approved by BASFA to come into the country. But I kind of have to speak about it globally. The same standards that American eggs would have to meet, or any American product would have to meet, are the same standards that any product from the Dominican Republic would have to meet. BASFA and our authorities here are not lowering our standards or changing our standards to import any good from any country. And so if something is going on in the Dominican Republic, that would be caught here because they would need to provide sanitation certificates, health certificates. Their ministries would need to give approval because you need to have certificates of origin of the products. And so BASFA verifies all these things before anything is allowed to come off the dock here in the Bahamas.
Because we don't know. So you all heard after all week long of wrangling and guessing, and you all called it though. You all called it. The eggs are from Dominican Republic, but there are many systems and different levels of approval and various ministries in Dominican Republic that must give approval, Leslie and Ellington. Then BASFA, which I hope that they do, and they ain't just sitting on there.
On Davis Street. Right to the corner there.
On Davis Street?
Right, Davis Street, right 5 minutes away.
Okay. So, gentlemen, your thoughts about finally we know the origin of the eggs and what the eggs had to kind of sort of be taken through. So the process of approvals, yes, before they landed.
Well, Shanique, that's good to know that they've already approved it. They approved that it's well and it's healthy. Unfortunately, I have had limited knowledge about BASFA prior to now. I think they need to be more visible in the country. They need to be more vocal in the country. They need to speak to a lot of the issues around food and agriculture that Bahamian has in the country. More Bahamians should know about them more intimately. I think further, it is important for us to know how they do things, how they operate. We got a number of food items that I've had concern about for years that is not allowed to be consumed in the U.S.
And
they
so
stay
quiet.
in the background.
Export only.
You know,
You see what I'm saying? And so
even this week,
we've
gentlemen,
never heard from them.
Leslie, listen to me. If it
almost-
wasn't for Senator Griffin and the gentleman Howells, I think Kerry Howells, that spoke last evening, we would have still been scratching our heads.
He's from Barford, whatever it's
I'm almost happy for this egg crisis.
He's an independent guy who goes to countries like Dominican Republic, which he did, and made connection with the suppliers, direct suppliers in Dominican Republic.
So he's a part of that diversification board there?
No, he's an independent company. But he is one of those. That's how the government does it. That's how the board does. So the board don't necessarily have to be all over the place traveling.
Right.
They go and they make the connections between you and the foreigner, and you all go to the merchant and facilitate it. So he's with a shipping company, but this is what they do.
Now, when are they going to make connections with getting the government corporations and ministries to buy Bahamian-made products? When are they going to do that?
I know.
And I think to Leslie point, Shanique,
when are they going to do that?
Wow.
Because you're going overseas, promoting a foreign product coming to the Bahamas, which is fine if we need it. But what about the local fellas who are here working like hell, producing, getting no support?
But they say there are egg producers like in Abaco and Grand Bahama and stuff that do a great job, huh?
But have they said that those fellas who produce the eggs in Freeport and Abaco, are their inventory now totally depleted to enable them to bring in these products? Because our policy used to be, when I was Minister of Agriculture, you can only import if we don't have the product here at all. And I trust that policy is still in place. But my concern is local manufacturing in this country needs help from government, and it needs people like them who go overseas to promote foreign products to come here, to assist us in promoting our products to be used by Bahamians, especially the government departments, who right now don't damn use no Bahamian products. In many cases here in the Bahamas. In fact, they discourage people from using the products, and it is wrong.
Wow.
I spoke to PM on it last night in Parliament.
Wow.
It is wrong. And I can speak on it. I warn them. I can start calling names.
What we need to see, while we have an immediate need for certain food products here in the country, and also to bring down the cost, so I could understand and I could appreciate what the Trade Commission is doing. But in the long run, I want to see us further strengthen BAMSI. I want to see us further get locally grown stuff on the tables of both Bahamian homes and on restaurant tables.
Yes,
okay, we need to be working dually towards that, because we don't need to expand this Trade Commission to a point where we bring in everything
and you're totally reliant on
to the
foreign.
discredit and to the continuation of BAMSI and local farmers, local producers, people are manufacturing local products.
Because the fellas who on that trade committee don't buy local products. None of them. Not a damn one.
You mean they ain't buying none of them?
I said none.
Minister of Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie is taking aim at the former administration, criticizing what the government calls a series of bad deals surrounding the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort. Under the Davis administration, Moxie says the government is taking a more strategic approach, ensuring that the right buyer is chosen to revitalize the resort and the local economy.
The Grand Lucayan Resort was purchased for double the appraised value, with one of the golf courses not included. And the investors walked away with the insurance money. Further, the government was to loan $50 million to the project, and the developer indicated that they would not be able to get to it until the next date. This side said it was a bad deal then, right, Angliston? And now we are fixing it. While you talk, we action. So, please appreciate that as negotiations are often sensitive, I repeat what the Honorable Prime Minister has said. Getting it right is important. I can say that our desire is for the developer committed to embracing the culture of Grand Bahama while creating a world-class brand that enhances the tourism product of Grand Bahama Island. We were careful to seek someone who has the vision, the heart, and the ability to create something spectacular for us all. In the meantime, the hotel continues to employ more than 200 Bahamians, is running a steady occupancy level, and continues to be the hub for events and entertainment, indicative of the significance of the resort to our vision for Grand Bahama Island.
Listen, it's one bad deal after the next, huh? Again, negotiating as though we are desperate and
I told you look in the dictionary. I told you that. Right?
What to look for?
All of them.
What be looking for in the dictionary?
Look in the book and see. What? The dumbest niggas in the world, and they go there. That's us.
Bahamians or
Bahamian,
or Bahamian elected officials. Listen. You know, Ellington and Leslie, it really is something that Grand Bahama this needs sorting out. I know the Prime Minister alluded to recently about a deal in the works. We have not heard anything about that. I guess they're being mum because they want to make sure it happens. But that it just, like I say, one bad deal after the next, like putting your foot in your mouth and stumbling over it, just over and over. Grand Bahama is tired of that and now wants it really something to be moving forward.
Shanika, I wonder sometimes, and I don't want to sound disparaging to these men and women that sits in the halls of Parliament, but I wonder, do they have advisors around them, the technocrat in these various ministries? Do they have a conversation with them? Do they take them along when they're going to these negotiations to understand? Do they seek out qualified people? Sometimes you may even have to hire people who good at negotiating.
Exactly.
Because we go in and we negotiating these deals. You heard Minister Moxie just spoke to the fact that they sell the hotel and separate the golf course from it. I also remember during the sale of that, the people came back a week later for all of the tables, cloths, and all of the utensils and everything, and telling the government that was not included in the sale of the hotel.
No way.
I mean, we've got to kind of change the way we do business as we go into new business going forward. The past administration, this administration, the next one. Let's negotiate from a point of strength. People are coming here because there's tremendous potential in the Bahamas for these people to make money. That's why they're coming here. Exactly. They're not coming here to help us.
Exactly.
They're coming here because they see potential for themselves, and they can try to negotiate you to the bottom penny. And most of the time, they get our leaders down to the bottom penny. And that's why our people have to still struggle and fight to survive, because we don't negotiate from a point of strength. We don't negotiate on the best interests of Bahamian people. We negotiate to make friends with these people, to line our pockets in some cases. Come on, man, let's wake up. We can do better. We are better than this.
You know, when you look at the history of this deal with this hotel, the Wampur Group is the ones who put up the hotel, eh? They are not in the hotel business to begin with. They put it up because part of the agreement with them and Grand Bahama Port Authority was that you also build a hotel. So they said to me, build a hotel. Not our business is shipping. So they built a hotel. And the damn former government bought it. Said, look here, your little fellas here. I want to sell this for $83 million. the hurricane money, when the hotel got some damage, they
Insurance.
got
The money.
The money.
Then walk away.
From the insurance company. And then, you know, these little...
You all handle that.
You know, these little jokes when they call themselves the government. And the leader of the opposition was right in Parliament. And in the cabinet sitting there when they did it. And now he's screaming, sell the hotel. Give us the golf course back. How about that? I mean, how dumb could you get? You buy a hotel and you leave your golf course.
And the people separate the golf
course. And then the people
from
came back and said, listen, all the utensils, you know, them fork and knives and them plate and all them glasses, they took it back. They went and took it out. They sent trucks and took the damn stuff out of the hotel.
No, they couldn't do that.
I said they sent their trucks and...
all the sheets and
everything.
It wasn't in the deal.
No, they didn't.
So when you look at the dictionary, under the word of those who did that, all you see is Jack. Another one put him his hand. It's me, no, it ain't him, it's me. That wasn't no minute's man, that was me. Don't get a fella credit.
Which part of the dictionary?
Any part.
J or D? Donkey? Which?
All. Just go to any page.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
Why would you do that?
do better. We must do better.
Why would you do that?
Negotiating.
And when we took it over, the other little fella said it was sold. I guess they screwed him around. And now the Prime Minister has it in his hands trying to do the best he can on behalf of the people that at least give us some semblance that this time it can be done right. That the time people can have the money and the financial capability and the wherewithal to put the hotel together, if it's worthwhile, that is. So, you know, let us see what can happen.
Even if going forward from this point forward, I mean, even if this particular sale doesn't go through, let's get a Bahamian management, or even we can find, if we have to go that way, find some professional hotel management group. Let's get that hotel going. Let's get employment. Let's get some activity in Grand Bahama. Grand Bahamian economy need to get
the people have been employed now for years throughout all of this. And I guess the government blindly made that deal at the time, that administration, to keep people having a job and going to what days.
The same thing with the airport.
What days do I know? But
the Wampo group again, you know, sold the airport for $1, and now you got to pay $100 million to put up a new airport, $200 million. That's how dumb we are. And the fellas
take the insurance money, do they? They got the insurance
money again. They got it.
Got that.
And they are still there in Freeport, running their business, making their money.
No way.
What you mean, no way?
No way.
What
Trump wouldn't have had them in the United States after all that.
Trump would have jailed them.
That's
what he would have done.
That's what I know.
Kill a couple of them.
Listen
on the way.
Listen, but you all watched the little whatever State of the Union address to Congress. Listen, boy, the U.S.
126 lives.
The U.S. just as trifling as any other nation, and you all talk about corrupt. You all hear about the people who 350 years old receiving Social Security. 300. Listen, I know God say with long life He will bless us.
That was not true. That was
350.
That was disputed like hell.
Who you letting talk about?
That was not true.
Them the shiesty Democrats. That ain't
only dispute was that it wasn't as many persons. But they did not
exactly. They didn't dispute the age. It's very true.
They said that
you see corruption. Corruption is spelled DEMOCRAT.
What's that?
That's how corruption is spelled.
Who's more crooked than the damn Republicans?
That's okay. The Democrats, who for you, Leslie, who for you all right here. That's you. That's your people right there, and they flipping could care less about you. Listen to me.
These brothers here?
Yeah, same brothers brothers in brown. Listen, I thank you very much, Leslie Miller, Ellington Ferguson. It's always good hanging out with you all especially on a Friday. My God, it's always you all make the weekend nice. You know what I mean? Don't go nowhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about fly fishing with Prescott Smith after this break. Stay close.
Island Luck Sportsbook is taking you to the NBA playoffs.
That's right. Every $20 bet placed between February 24th and April 1st earns you an entry to win an all-expense-paid trip to an NBA playoff game. Imagine being in the stands, feeling the energy, and watching your favorite team battle for a championship. The more you bet, the more chances you have to win. So don't miss out. Place your bets now at Island Luck Sportsbook and get ready for the experience of a lifetime. Weekly drawings every Tuesday at 3 p.m. starting March 4th. Visit islandluck.com/sports for more details. Who's ready to fly off to the NBA playoffs?
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Well, the fly fishing industry has been a staple in the Bahamas for a number of decades. In fact, it's quite a lucrative industry. Islands like Andros, for example, continue to thrive on bone fishing and the flats. And in fact, they have on an annual basis many high-end discerning visitors who come and pay great amounts of money to guides who take them out on the flats to experience fly fishing. However, there is an intrusion, and that is the foreign element that continues to participate, that continues to give Bahamians a run for their money, and in some instances are taking advantage of the industry more than Bahamians are. Well, this is something that Prescott Smith from Andros has been paying attention to for a number of years. He's been a lobby to get the industry regulated and owned strictly by Bahamians. He's also an advocate for the environment and many other things, but in particular, this fly fishing industry where he continues to be one of the leading people in Andros, a participant, one of the owners, but also someone who wants to see other Bahamians empowered by getting involved in this industry. We're going to discuss it with him this evening, so I'd like to welcome him to Beyond the Headlines. Good evening to you, Prescott. It's good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Good evening to you, Shanique, and thank you for having me on the show. Good evening to the Bahamas.
Yes, it's good to have you here. I laid a foundation about fly fishing, bone fishing. I remember being a reporter and going to Andros and covering many bone fishing tournaments, going to the various lodges. It really is that lucrative industry that Andros continues to benefit from annually. There are jobs, there are spin-off jobs, there are guides. But you are not satisfied with what's been happening all these years as it relates to the industry. Tell us about that.
Yes, because as you stated, Shanique, it's an industry, and it's so much more than just the guiding and lodging. You know, most of our country is the marine environment, and that's why I've been sounding the alarm on this issue for so many years. And of course, the country having the world's #1 resource, many persons from other parts of the world are aware of the value of these resources. And that's why it's been such opposition to getting Bahamians in full ownership in the industry. But, you know, I unapologetically state that the industry have to be developed and protected for Bahamians because it's so much more beyond guiding and lodge ownership. Talk
about this foreign invasion. that's happened. You spoke about it some weeks ago, and I wanted to really have you come on this show and speak about it, to talk about the fact that, listen, this lucrative industry that Bahamians are kind of just letting just sail by, for lack of a better term and description, that foreigners are in on it. They are participating right alongside you all on Andros on the Flats, and this is also disturbing.
It is very disturbing, Shanique, and I'm going to share with you briefly. I remember taking a group of government officials many years ago to the world headquarters in Florida, and the Americans said to us, and I won't use that language, but they said, you know, who are we? They were running things in the Bahamas before 1973. And so I took the approach then and said, we need to focus on the shallow water resources of our country, because the way our economy was set up in terms of touristic development and marinas, for you to invite a fight from the oceans to the flat, it was very unlikely that you would ever get the legislation passed, because it took us 22 years to get the flats fishing legislation passed. And many companies from the United States, Canada, Europe, who are aware of the true potential of the fly fishing industry, they were all opposing the legislation. And it also conflicts with our local model of ownership, the way our tourism industry was designed. So the issue is to get Bahamians to see that, you know, we talk about resources and we talk about ownership, but 85% of our country is the marine environment.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no bigger fight in terms of present and future generations for real ownership when it comes to the country's main resources. It's in the marine space.
It's in the future. You feel the future is in the marine space.
It is in the marine space, Shanique. And unfortunately, you know, humans are like this all over the globe. When you think of, let's look at the commercial fishing industry. And I will say this so Bahamians can listen to it. I remember taking out the former Minister of Marine Resources, and he said, from Spanish Wells, he said his grandfather told him that the success of the commercial fishing industry is because of the nursery system on the west coast of Andros. And human, by nature, most people are not going to tell you you're sitting on a gold mine until they're controlling it. These resources are our diamond mine, our oil well, our gold mine. It's just that the equivalent for us is all of those, whether it be the bonefish, tarpon, permit, the grouper, the lobster, the thousands of marine resources in that environment. And so you won't be able to develop an industry if you allow persons to come in here and control these resources by building lodges throughout the Bahamas. Because you and I cannot go in Montana or Colorado or Wyoming. It does not matter how much money you have. They will never allow you to get an outfitter's license to get into those spaces. And so it's ludicrous that our leaders are allowing persons to come from around the world to control the world's #1 resource. And that's what we're facing here.
But how much of a challenge is it? First of all, how many Bahamians are actively involved and owning a piece of this industry? And then how much of a challenge is that foreign competitive edge or competition?
It is, well, for example, again, I can't thank you enough for allowing on the show, because I find most of this is because if you're a Bahamian who's a nurse or a teacher, you think that this issue doesn't affect you. So in answer to your question about Bahamian ownership, I remember a professor came from Trinidad and she said, Prescott, the most resorts we found in the entire Caribbean that are owned by blacks was on the island of Andros. Okay? And we went to the government in 1993 to share the true potential of the industry. And instead of it being embraced, it was just met with opposition because you were talking about ownership
rather
than just working in the industry. So what has been happening over the years, Shanique, because of no clear policies on these issues, you had persons coming in who are building lodges in Abaco, in Grand Bahama, in South Andros, and it's been under the radar. Many of them are running through homes that are being built.
The second home ownership.
Homes. Yes, I want to share.
Prescott, how was this even allowed? And I know that's a silly question to ask you because it is allowed, that and much more. I mean, how can this be shifted? And then see, because if Bahamians are having a meaningful stake in it, and even actively every day, like yourself and a few others in Andros, they just could not come and set up shop. Is how I feel.
It is happening under the radar through real estate. So, for example, when we had a meeting recently in New York, it was shared with us that there were 3,000 plus homes in Exuma alone running as illegal businesses. And so you can just look at the numbers in Elutra, in Abaco. The government is being defrauded out of hundreds of millions of dollars. And what they're capitalizing on is that the way our country has been marketed to the citizens, most people just think, oh, somebody come and they build this beautiful home without understanding that they are renting those homes.
They are.
And the monies are not even coming in the country.
No.
Just the bare minimal. And a lot of these, they're using the resources of the Bahamas to market. This is what is going on.
Right now, presently, I know. You mentioned Exuma. Elutra is now right alongside Exuma in terms of that second home ownership, and it's become quite lucrative for the second homeowner as well.
Yeah, so you think about somebody coming to my lodge. There is no one who ever comes here that we do not collect the monies for the government and turn it in. So if you do the math on 3,000 in Exuma, in Elutra, in Abaco, in Long Island, it isn't just a couple $100 million. And so from people bringing these issues to the government attention, the country has lost billions in revenue as a result of it. So you can see the opposition because this model is about Bahamian ownership and it conflicts.
Why do you suppose there's good talk and it sounds good, but there's such disdain for the thought of Bahamian ownership? In an industry like this that's ripe. I mean, so many other industries appear to be oversaturated, but here's one that is just ready for the picking for Bahamians to get involved with.
Ready for the picking. Shanique, before I answer you, I have to thank you again because the media has a very powerful role to play in this. We had a meeting with the current Minister of Tourism, and I said to him, you are now the 8th minister that I'm dealing with since 1993, and you can make history and be the first to support a tourism model that is about Bahamian ownership. So this is the 7th administration, and it shows you look back, the question you asked, it says touristic development and marinas. It never spoke about Bahamian ownership. And that's the reason why it is being met with so much opposition, because I am advocating for Bahamians to develop the industry, not just the lodge, the guide, the Bahamian artists. So when you paint that bonefish, that tarpon, that permit, that snook, you can see that on the shower curtain, in the hotel, in your home, on the plate, on the coffee cup.
But what's stopping right now, Prescott, Bahamians from developing merch, as you said, bone fishing? And let's give people an idea who don't have an idea. Let's just talk about Andros, for example. How lucrative an industry is it, even at the very minuscule level that you all are involved? Just let's talk about how this fuels the Andros economy on an annual basis. To the tune of what would you say?
I know the numbers. Very good question. It brings in the most revenue in Andros. I'm giving you accurate numbers. There's about 125 guides from Mars Bay to Red Bay, and it's in excess of over $40 million.
Look at that.
And that's just on the surface of it, because there are other things, people flying and the taxi driver. So they actually do the numbers, but nothing else brings in the kind of revenue into the economy, and we haven't scratched the surface of this industry.
No, you all are still playing on right there on the shores. And the thing is, when you spoke with the Ministry of Tourism, what was the response? Because again, here is an opportunity for the economy, the tourism industry to be diversified and for the economy to be further strengthened.
Unique, I've never swayed by talk because I've been through so many of them. And I can tell you, unless the government declares in policy that this industry is to be developed by Bahamians, it means you're going to lose a multi-billion-dollar industry. So politicians giving me words means nothing to me. They have to come out and declare it nationally and globally. Just how you see, notice Trump. He doesn't play around. He says he's putting Americans first.
Moving full force on behalf of Americans.
Yes, and anything else is just talk. So the Minister of Tourism, if he's committed to this, he will say it publicly. And why I'm so serious about this, Shanique, unless the government declares that, we will lose what is left of this country. That's why I've never backed off this issue. So no government truly means the Bahamian citizens well if they're going to leave this door open and then talk about empowering the citizens of the country. And I put the interests of Bahamians first about anything else. And anything else is just talk to me. Yeah. That's how serious this issue is, because it's much more than a lodge and a guide. You're talking about developing an industry.
Absolutely, but I also want, Prescott, for Bahamians themselves to step up. See, when they step up, they could force any administration's hand. You mentioned about merchandise. Nobody has tapped into the merch that can be developed off of bone fishing and fly fishing. No one. No, Andros or elsewhere.
Yes, you're right. All of these things we addressed at the highest level in government. So if you look at our trademark, copyright, and because these forces are global at the end of the day, and the influences are local from different interests, real estate, the tourism model. So I've examined every detail when it comes to where's the opposition coming from. You look at who fought the legislation and who's still fighting it.
The legislation is being fought? Who's fighting it? In 10 seconds, I have to go. Who's fighting it?
The legislation was opposed by the National Trust, the Nature Conservancy, all the tourism associations, because it conflicts with the old model as opposed to one of ownership. This is
these people in positions of power, all those areas and agencies that Prescott just mentioned, y'all got to get y'all foot off black people's neck. Exactly. Let these Bahamian people and Andros and elsewhere that's it. This Moses man, it's time now to be delivered. Let these people realize their economic freedom by something like that. They're right there on the shores of Andros and elsewhere. Why can't they step in and own it? And then on top of that, Prescott, you all get up and make it happen. That's what you do. You demand it and make it happen. Let them stop being lazy and just being a guard.
Shanique, I want to thank you, and I'll tell you the power you have to the media. I challenge any of those organizations I call or any interest to come out publicly
and deny it.
Debate me if I'm wrong.
Well, I'll have you back. Bring them on. Whoever reach out to you and tell you lie, let them come back on the show and say you're lying, and let's hear more. We want to hear more, because truly this is the era to empower Bahamians. We see every nation now stepping up on behalf of their citizens. When are Bahamians going to be given first opportunity and first dibs on whatever is available? We'll talk more about that, Prescott. Thank you very much, Prescott Smith and Andros, speaking about fly fishing, on top, perhaps $1 billion industry that they are being allowed just to play with and get the little crumbs. Yeah, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Prescott Smith. I want to thank all of you for tuning in this week, hanging out all week long with me. I certainly enjoyed having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here next week on Monday evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Have a blessed weekend, everyone.